So, unsurprisingly, the Dallas Cowboys have decided to roll with Terence Steele at right tackle while La'el Collins serves his 5-game suspension, in which he'll return from that in the Vikings game after the bye week. So, there's been a lot of discourse about this decision, and we'll get into that momentarily. But before we do that, if you guys could do me a solid favor and like the video, it helps to do better in YouTube's algorithm, along with subscribing and hitting the notification bell. If you haven't done so already, if you want to stick around and get some more Dallas Cowboys content like this, that would be awesome. So, with all that being said, I understand that Terence Steele is not on the same level of La'el Collins. That is a no-brainer type of analysis right there, right? But I do want to make it clear that Terence Steele is not as putrid as when he started out. And that doesn't excuse any of the fact that he's not as good, and really he's just a placeholder that for the next 5 games is going to be going up against solid opponents on that defensive line for the other opponents we got. But I think it's important that we understand that he, towards the end of last year, really improved. I'm going to pull up these statistics on my phone. And so he started 14 games last year, okay? In the first 8 games, he allowed 7 sacks. Terrible. And trust me, he was terrible, like god-awful, to the point to where, like, you really should have possibly signed someone or whatever the case may be. And he had 18 hurries. That is just terrible. Okay? Not all of them being fully his fault, but a decent chunk were. Okay? But the key thing is that in the last 6 games, he only allowed 2 sacks and 4 hurries. Now, I understand that there were certain opponents we went up against that didn't really have the strongest of pass rushers. I understand that. But he did look decent towards the end of the year, and I really do think he can be a solid backup at his peak. Now, in the next 5 games, how can we, picture how he's going to do? I mean, for God's sake, we're going up against Joey Bosa this week, and we don't know how that's going to go, and I'm pretty sure we can predict, because I feel like Terence Steele is going to get bullied the hell out of. And that's not something surprising to see, but I think we need to realize that, the one thing he does have is just being available. I mean, he wasn't hurt all of last year, but I think that at that point he just needs to improve himself. I mean, I look at the 6 penalties, or, rather he had 8 penalties, I should say. I mean, he had 3 offensive holding penalties, he had 2 false starts. These aren't good. When you have that many penalties, that's a problem. And so, I just think that, when you look at who he is currently, I think that, for what you're getting out of an undrafted rookie, well, not anymore, but back then in 2020, the fact that you were able to get something like that out of him towards the end is a miracle in and of itself. But I felt like that the Cowboys had multiple other opportunities, like playing Zach at right tackle. Oh, well, he just doesn't like playing right tackle. You know what? We're paying you all this money, and if you are that stubborn about not playing a position, that's one thing. Now, he did get hurt playing right tackle, which I do think was an attribute to that, because, playing guard and right tackle are 2 completely types of situations. But, I mean, you could throw Connor Williams out at tackle, and they don't want to do that. And now you have Connor McGovern that's sitting on the bench when he should be getting playing time. And it's just a whole mess about what this Cowboys team evaluates. And I'm not trying to say that because we lost La'el for 5 games, it's going to be the end of the world, but I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. I think it's going to be an annoyance, sure. So you look at these next 5 opponents, okay? You have the Chargers up here, and he's going to probably struggle in that game against Joey Bosa and the guys up there. Then you have the Eagles. You got Brandon Graham. You have a couple of these other guys on the edge that could give you fits. You got the Panthers. Now, I'm going to not act ignorant here. I'm going to be honest. I don't know who's on Carolina's defense, but, I think that, I think he can maybe hold his own, possibly. Then you go up against the Giants. they have a couple guys there where I think he can maybe hold his own. And then you have the Patriots where they have a couple guys there. So, I mean, like, I feel that these next couple of games, I think the toughest he's going to have is probably these next two. And, I mean, if he holds his own, like, I'm not saying that he's going to not allow anything and stuff like that. But if he manages to hold his own for these 5 games, I think, and what I mean by that is maybe allow at most a couple, like a sack or 2, maybe 3. I think that that's a win. Because, again, I don't want you to leave with the impression that I think that Terence Steele is the answer. I feel like that there are other options that the Cowboys should do because they have much better linemen that they should be playing, right? But I do want to be clear that I think that he's going to be able to do just enough to get us through. But then again, we could, things could change, for all we know, it starts off like how last year started off where he just looked terrible. And, I mean, there are guys that, and I mean, the Cowboys really need, these younger guys because the guys that they try to bring in to be that backup quality depth, they suck, okay? And it's a problem because you should always draft offensive line every year. Now, you got Josh Ball, but I don't know how he's going to look. And it's just, this has been a problem, man. The Cowboys offensive line, having no one to depend on at the backup level. And, I just, you got to hope that these other guys don't get hurt because you're screwed. But I'm a firm believer that as long as Dak Prescott's the quarterback, I think that the Cowboys will be fine these next couple of games. Now, do I think they're going to win all these games? No, I don't think they're going to win all these games. I do think they're going to go into Los Angeles and they'll beat the Chargers. I think that they can beat the Eagles. I think that they can beat the Panthers, but that's the team that can give them fits. Because knowing the Cowboys, that's just how it is. I think that the way I would look at it is this. In these next 5 games, if the Dallas Cowboys hold their own, and I'm going to get into that also in the pregame video more in depth. But I feel like if Dallas can hold their own in these next 5 games, and what I mean by that is if you can go 3-2 or 4-1 in these 5-game stretches that we got here, and you get into the bye week at 4-2, I think Dallas is sitting pretty. And depending on how these next games go. Now, if they're sitting 3-3, I wouldn't be shocked because that'd be like, okay, fine. But if they're anything less than 3-3, we got a problem. Okay, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think that this team showcased on Thursday night that they can hold their own, and I think they're going to be good this year. And so if you're Dallas, your goal is to go 3-2 in these next 5 games. If you could do better, that'd be fantastic. But, I mean, hey, look, this is your last road game for the next 3 games. So you kind of need to... You got to get, if you can get this road win, that'd be awesome. I would prefer if we got the road win last week because, then you have an NFC East, or excuse me, an NFC win. But right now, I think that if you're Dallas, you just got to focus on what's going on ahead of you. Take care of business against the Chargers and then just, pick them off 1 game at a time. They definitely have the capability of doing that, so... we'll see what happens, guys. So if you guys can do me a favor, make sure to like the video, subscribe if you're new, and hit the notification bell, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, guys? Have a good one. Bye-bye.